Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Thanks for watching this show. I'm your host, Coach Tripp, along with my good buddy to my left, Billy Pendock, my high school teammate at Liverpool High School under the great George O'Leary. And below us, we have a special guest this Saturday, Coach Tommy Marzullo. Coach Mars, man, what a joy it is to talk to you.
Thank you.
Man, we're going to have such a blast today, man. I don't even know where to start, but I guess we better start at the beginning. All right, this your Italian section of Syracuse, Paisan. You know, my grandmother grew up over there, off State Street, across from Henniger quarterback there.
Yeah,
Coach, you started coaching in 1971, but even before that, I want you to talk about your mom and dad and your siblings growing up.
well, it was a great Italian family. You know, we were very close knit. Our family was on one block. I mean, next door to me was my grandmother, and right two doors down was my uncle. And you know, we had a very large family. You know, you had the dinners in the garage with 30, 40 people, and you know that everybody knew everybody, and you couldn't get away with anything. So
that's true. That's true. Then what'd your mom and dad do? I mean, what'd your dad do? And do you have any brothers?
Yes, I have my brother. He's an electrician. He's a general electrician in the city of Syracuse. He has his own company. And then my father worked for Carrier. He was a Carrier worker. He was a brazier. My mother worked for R.E. Dietz. You know, we had both families. And of course, when I was young, I was babysat by my grandmother, which was right next door to me. So I used to go there for school. Yeah, a lot.
Manja, right?
Oh, can't complain about the food. That's for sure.
It was like my first wife. You know, I married two Alabama girls, not at the same time, mind you. But I mean, you know, they couldn't. You know, neither one was a great cook. I was always missing that Italian cook. You know? All right, so what high school did you go to, and where'd you go to college? How'd you get into coaching? All that.
I went to Henniger High School. That's where I played ball at Henniger, and we had a quarterback named Rocky Ganella who was also a coach at Liverpool for a little bit. Rocky, we went to the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and Rocky's actually the one who talked me into going. There was about 6 of us from our school. We were all friends. We all went out to the University of Nebraska at Omaha and played that 1 year. I played 1 year, and then I was just too small for that level. So I ended up just staying involved and working on the aspects of doing something in sports. I was a physical education teacher. I was going to end up staying there. I ended up getting married my junior year. And then we had our second son my senior year. So I ended up graduating in 3.5 years. I left in January and got back because I would stay in the summer and I'd take courses all summer. So when I got back, you know, here I am. I was young. I was only about 20 years old. And we were living on Hickson Ave, which was right down the street from Henniger. And there was an athletic director there named Lou Stark. And right next to my house, there was a corner store. It's really kind of ironic. My wife said, go to the store and get some milk and bread, you know. So I go into the store and there he is. And he goes to me and he goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm still subbing. You know, I'm subbing in the city, but I'm trying to find a job. And he goes, well, how would you like to coach? I said, absolutely, I would like to coach. Wow. So he says, well, let me set you up with this guy. This guy's name was Jim Palla from Nottingham. And he says, I'm going to set you up and see what happens. Well, I met with Jim and we worked together for 10 years. You know, I ended up having to, in order for me to get the job, and Jim was funny, in order for me to get the job, I had to coach wrestling because he hated it and he was stuck with it. So he says, I'll hire you, but you got to coach wrestling. I said, all right. So I coached wrestling for 5 years until I gave that up. But I was the offensive line coach and I was the defensive coordinator for Nottingham for 10 years.
Wow. You guys won a city championship there too. with Coach-
Yes, we did more than once. Yeah, we were the first team to ever play in Archibald Stadium. We ended up playing at Archibald Stadium before the dome was built, and we ended up playing Henniger for the city championship.
Oh, is that when guys like Keith Moody, the former quarterback, and DB, the Buffalo Bills and Raiders, and a Super Bowl champ, actually kick return, and Doug Swift, the great Nottingham linebacker. Was talk about those guys for a minute, man.
Yeah, they were big. Those guys were they were there a little bit. Well, not Keith. Keith I knew, but right. Swift was he's a little older. Right. He was there a little bit before, but they were great athletes for Nottingham, and they gave us a lot of inspiration for our players to play. It was a great opportunity.
You did coach Dorsey Levens, a great Green Bay Packers Super Bowl and all pro.
Yes, Dorsey was some player. I mean, he was a highlight player. But that's when I left. I left Nottingham in 1980, and I took the job over at Corcoran High School, which is an opposing school, and so that's where most of those players came from. That was a tough school to be at. I was there for 6 years.
Coach, how lucky we were, man. Go ahead, Billy.
Yeah, I just want to ask him, back when you started at Nottingham or Corcoran, what was the what was the AA like? Was it still, who was the power? Were all the city schools all still strong, or was any county schools? What was it like then?
Well, the big school was Henniger. Henniger was still good. They were a powerhouse, but the biggest school was Rome. Rome Free Academy was the top. They were the top of the state for quite a long time. Remember, that was just it wasn't a played state championship. It was an assigned state championship. But they were very, very good. Tommy Hope was the coach there then, and he done an outstanding job in Rome. So they were the top school.
Okay.
Coach,
and Liverpool and those county schools, they were okay, but they didn't want to play us until you guys ended up playing Henniger at Point Field. I remember that.
All right.
Because your coach came to my house, and I got my wife to freaking verify it. Your coach came to my house in my kitchen because we had played Henniger about 2 weeks before that, and he watched some film in my kitchen to make sure that you guys were ready to play Henniger.
Well, you guys played them tougher than anybody that year.
Yes, we did.
They were blowing everybody out, but we were both undefeated.
That's a great story he just told, because I posed a question to Coach O'Leary, and I said, I heard from a source that you went and looked at film and got help before the game. And he looked me dead in the eye, like he always does, and said, no, that's not true.
No, that is true. Well, I'm here to say I have no reason not to say that, but that is true. He did come, and back then there was no exchanging of film. You couldn't exchange film back then.
Coach, he was a defensive coach, and so are you. Were you more even though you were a defensive coach, right? What are the positions that you coach, and what was your favorite position to coach?
I coached the defensive line when I was at Nottingham. When I was at Corcoran, I did everything. When I was at Liverpool, I did the running backs, so I didn't have anything to do with the defensive side of the ball. But then once I went to CBA, I ended up doing the running backs at CBA, and I also did the defensive backs. So I did. If I had to say anything, I probably did more defensive backs than anything else.
Oh, there you go. The DB coach.
Yeah, the DBs. Yeah.
Coach Mars, you got my heart now. I couldn't coach anything but DBs. I'll be honest with you. I could not coach I could not do it justice. Coach Ryan, I learned a long time ago, don't ever coach the things you don't know, and don't ever ignore the things that you do. That's what
being a head coach, you have to know everything. So you should know. You should know every position,
right?
And that really helped me in the long run in terms of knowing every position.
Yeah,
because I was the only guy at the Christian Brothers Academy that coached both sides of the ball. I was on the offensive side and on the defensive side. Everybody else was just a one position coach. And that helped me. That helped me a lot.
Yeah, it did help you. That's unusual, man, to do something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. What did George? Did you guys just watch film and George was picking your brain about what kind of defensive schemes that? Do you remember what kind of defensive schemes you ran?
When I was at Nottingham, we used to play a 4-4. We stunted a lot, but because we were small. It was we were a small school, but our linebackers were small, but they were quick, so we used to stunt a lot.
Yeah, I couldn't block them.
Out of that 4-4,
yeah, you didn't know which way they were going to stunt.
And Henniger didn't throw the ball much, so we played that 8-man front.
It was quite a load. The very first Section 3 championship game in the state of New York. Very first one, I think, televised locally in the state of New York.
Yes.
We didn't have state championships back then.
No.
But I think Union Endicott squeezed this out for one voting or something like that. I think George was trying to get a game with them, but politics involved was saying nay. But man, I think Billy, I think we had 8 D1 guys from that team, 8 or 9 D1.
You had a lot of them. Yeah.
The battle still kept going all through 4 years of my college career because I had Eddie Coban and Steve Villani both on the team from UE, which it turned into a woulda, coulda, shoulda happened.
I wanted to go to Syracuse so bad, man. It's the best thing that ever happened to me not going there.
Yes, it was.
Talk about a blessing in disguise, Coach. It was such a good disguise. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see it at all. And then I grinded 2.5 years before I ever even dressed for a game. But talk about some of the other players that you had. Like when I was coaching at Catholic, Jeremy Reeves became All-Pro special teams in the NFL. But did you see it in Dorsey Levens? I couldn't. It's hard to see it at the high school level. They have the intangibles, and Jeremy checked all the boxes for the intangibles. Is that what the Dorsey Levens guys like that did?
Dorsey Levens, yeah, you knew that. You knew right away that he was going to end up making it big. I mean, he was just that much of a player. The only other kid I realized that was that much of a player, I'm trying to think of it. The kicker, Riley Dixon. Riley Dixon kicked for me at CBA. He was a punter, and he's now playing for Denver, the Broncos. But you knew he was going to be an NFL player right from the get-go. And people don't realize he was an outstanding quarterback. We had a great quarterback then. So he used to do inside run for me as a quarterback, but he was an outstanding player. He was probably the most likely person to go pros that I've ever coached.
Wow. How many state titles have you won, Coach?
I won 1 state championship, and that was in 2005 at CBA. Quite a few sectional championships, but the state championships were tough. We ended up beating New Rochelle at that year.
Coach, who's the biggest influence? What coach? Coach Pella, and any other? And what makes a great assistant coach? Because I was an assistant. It wasn't meant for me to be a head coach, and probably because I didn't know could coach any other position. So God said, stay a DB coach and defensive coordinator. But talk about a coach that really had an impact on you in your career, and what makes a great assistant coach.
The guy who probably had the biggest influence on me was probably Jim Pallo, the guy I started with. I coached with him for 10 years. We really became family. He ended up baptizing my third son, who's a teacher now and was a coach for a little bit. But he ended up baptizing him, and he passed away about a year ago. But he was probably the biggest influence, and he ended up coaching in Florida. He ended up going to Chaminade in Florida off of Hollywood, near Hollywood Beach. He ended up going there, wanted me to go, but I didn't. I stayed at Corcoran, and then I went to CNS. But he was probably the biggest influence on me in terms of that.
Yeah.
Being an assistant is loyalty. I think loyalty and knowledge is the two biggest things. If you're not loyal to the guy that you're working for, it makes it very, very difficult. I've had some of them, and I've gotten rid of some of them.
Loyal assistant coaches. That's funny. I don't see that much down here. I think more of knowledge and communication and connection. To your players.
Yeah, well, that's true. Look, yes, knowledge is extremely important, but
extremely important.
It's a different world now in terms of coaching. I mean, my grandson just finished his senior year at Liverpool, and I used to go to the practices. I wouldn't, they've asked me to coach and help out, but I just don't want to do that anymore. So I would sit in the stands and watch, and it's a different world. It's just not like it used to play there when I coached. It's gotten entirely soft, and things have changed.
For him now, Paul, I used to keep you up to speed. I coached with Coach Marzullo at CNS, and then again at CBA. And
yes,
he was, when you look at CNS's the coaching lineage, I think he's got the most years as far as how many years. Now, Tommy, you'll have to tell me the details on that, but it was how many years were you there?
71 to 2018, right? 1971 to 2018.
No, that's total. But being at corporate or at CNS, I was there. I coached there for 17 years.
Wow.
I was there for 17.
Wow. You were there? So you remember great players, because I like to talk about the great players from Syracuse. Latavius Murray.
He played. Yes, he played. Yeah, Latavius Murray was a great player. Yeah. I've seen all those kids. The good thing too is I got to coach the All-Star teams when they used to do it, and I coached about 3 All-Star teams, and you get to see a lot of them guys when you're coaching the All-Star teams. But I don't even think they do it anymore. They don't do much anymore. They're trying to kill the sport. I think. I don't. Sometimes I just don't understand the philosophy.
Bill, we talking about it on our 4-wheel drive on Wednesday night, Coach. We talk about that.
Yeah.
When O'Leary comes on my show, we talk about it, how every generation's getting softer and softer and softer.
Yeah, I'm sure George sees it, because if I see it, he sees it. Right. And I don't know if it's gotten like that at the college level, but at the high school level where we are, it has really gotten bad. Well, now I'm here in Florida, and I go to I have a house in the Villages, and I went to one of their games, and they're pretty good. I mean, it's a little different down here. I've been here in June and in the end of May, and they have their practices. They're already practicing down here. It's a little different, but New York is very soft. Yeah,
you're right, Coach. It is a little different down here. The passion, and I noticed it back in 1980 when I moved down here to Alabama. I was actually flabbergasted by the passion.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe. Flabbergasted maybe not be the word, but I was kind of stunned at how much it meant to him down here. And I think that's one. I remember George telling me early on my radio show years ago that's one of the reasons he wanted to go to Georgia Tech, is because the players were just yes sir, no sir. Man, it was almost military style. When I got to Alabama, and I remember, George ran about as tight a ship as you can ever run. But when I got to Alabama, holy shit. Coach Bryant just won back-to-back national titles, and I looked at myself and another guy next to me, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here?
It was a different world. It really is a different world.
Yeah, it was a different world. So, I think the colleges still, Coach, there's still you're at a high standard for effort, or you get the hell off the field, I think, down here. So it's not gotten to the colleges yet, but the NIL and all that stuff is hurting the locker rooms. I mean,
it's killing it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like how could you be paying somebody $100,000, $150,000 a year to sit the bench when the guy who's starting is making 25 grand or something, you know?
Yeah.
It
It makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense. There's all sorts of issues, and then even more politics get into the mix. You know, I hate politics. You know, and I saw it when I was at Alabama. I saw politics, but you know, Coach Bryan was apolitical. He didn't care. You know, if you're a Yankee walk-on like me, or you're an All-American from Tuscaloosa, he didn't give a shit.
As long as you can play.
Yeah, as long as you can play, right? You can measure. Billy.
Yeah, I got a question for Coach. Did you coached a lot? You been coaching since 71. Now, how many did you ever give any thought to moving up to the college level or anything along the way?
Yeah, right around I think it was 1977, 78, maybe. I went to Boston College with Coach Utica, who coached at Boston College. He was the head coach there then. And my wife went with me, and I was on the sidelines. The wives took her shopping and stuff, and we watched it. They were playing UMass, I think, at the time. If I remember, I went to all their meetings and everything, and then we went out to dinner after, and some of the wives told my wife, I had two little rugrats at the time, you know, my two boys. I only had two boys then, and they were 2 years apart. So they were kind of a handful. So they said to her that, well, if he takes this job, you won't see him. You'll be dealing with those two kids all the time. So that kind of made my decision. I didn't want to leave my boys, and I mean, it was bad enough just doing high school. You're never there.
Right.
But if you were doing college and you're recruiting and you're going all over the place, I didn't see it in the cards for me at that time.
You're gone.
And
You're gone.
Yeah. So I didn't take it.
Coach, great decision, man. You know, I made the same decision when I got out of pro football. I could have gone back to Alabama and coached.
Yeah.
And for 22 grand, I'm working 80 hours a week. I had a wife and a little daughter. Not ever going to see her. No thanks.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're gone constantly.
Gone
it was great that those women said that to my wife, and then we talked.
Right.
It was just a mutual decision. Yeah.
Did you ever, after that, along the way up, did you ever think about it again, consider it again, or was that
not really? Not really. I enjoyed working with the high school kids and getting them into college. I really enjoyed doing that. I thought that was a big part of what I should be doing at the time.
Right.
And it took a lot of my time. I mean, it occupied a lot of my time. I mean, you know, we went to camp. I mean, I used to take my kids to a camp for a week. We used to go away for a week, and fundraising and all of that. It's a year-round job. It's not a job. If you're going to do a good job, it's not a job that you do in August and then give it up, you know, when the season is over, and then do what you want to do and then come back to it. It's not that type of a job.
Coach, I worked 3 jobs when I coached most of my coaching career for 20 years.
Yeah.
For 10 years, I worked 3 jobs.
No,
you know, I was driving a car, 18-year-old car with 316,000 miles on it. You know, I just
you're not going to get rich doing it.
I couldn't afford it anymore, man. I was grinding, working 3 jobs. It's a grind, Billy. You know how it is.
That's in any part of coaching in any sport. You're looking at paying your dues, and you're looking at it's at least 10 to 15 years before you can even get a chance to, you know, nowadays to get to that level. You know, it's hard.
I think when I got my first job, I think I got paid $200 for the job. That was it. I mean, back then, now you think of it now, I mean, you make that an hour. It's ridiculous.
Coach, I figured out I was a Catholic. I was making like under $2,000 a year, and you know, when I got into public schools, it was like $2,500 a year.
Yeah,
I figured I was spending 20 hours a week up at the high school, and I did the math. and it came to like $3 an hour, $2 an hour or something like it's really against the law. Okay, it's not legal. You shouldn't be making twice minimum way less than minimum wage.
Well, Coach, we had Stevie Scott on the podcast just on Wednesday. And
How do you do?
he mentioned your name. We talked about just a little.
Yeah.
You give a little bit of background on Stevie. What you think? You coached him as he was a running back. He was a linebacker on defense. I always thought he should have been a defensive end.
I know you did.
What were your thoughts on him going early, leaving Indiana early, and being a running back as opposed to a defensive player?
Well, obviously, I think he would have lasted a lot longer as a defensive player in the NFL. I think he would have been a better job because of the longevity. Running backs take a pounding. But for when I had him, I mean, he came up as a ninth grader. He was on the JVs, and I pulled him up immediately as a running back. And everybody thought, what are you doing? This kid's not a running back. He's just too big. But he was so physically strong, and he had great vision. I mean, his vision was very, very good. And I knew he was going to make it at Indiana. I remember when he got recruited, we were playing, I forget where we were. We were down, I think, in Elmira when he got the offer, to go to Indiana. I was kind of hoping he would stay his senior year. I didn't really want him to leave. I don't know who convinced him. At that point, he would text me every once in a while, but I didn't. He never mentioned leaving, so it was kind of a shocker to me that he left. But he's a great player. He was outstanding player. He could play on both sides of the ball. I mean, he could have played either way.
Yeah, he'll make it. He'll make it.
Oh, he'll make it. He'll make it.
Yeah, he'll make it somewhere.
Paulie, another athlete that Tommy had that's currently in the NFL is Servassier Dennis.
Oh, Servassier, yeah. That's a story. Servassier Dennis is a story. He came as a freshman. I brought him up as a freshman. He was a free safety for me as a freshman. He had 7 interceptions. He had an interception in every game. He was out as a freshman. He was outstanding. The next year, we moved him. He ended up playing quarterback, and we moved him to the corner. I moved him to a little bit of corner, a little bit of free safety. Right. But he was an outstanding athlete. We ended up going to a Syracuse camp. This is a good story. We ended up going to a Syracuse camp, and I don't know if I want to mention the head coach's name, but the head coach that was there, I won't. We were talking, and he asked me, he goes, "What do you think of this Vossi and this Scott?" I said, "You better recruit both of them." I says, "They're both outstanding athletes." He goes, "I don't think so. They're kind of small for here." I said, "I think you're making a big mistake." Yeah. And he says, "No, we're not going to offer them here." Wow. I said, "Okay." Ended up going to Pittsburgh and was probably one of the best players on Pittsburgh's defense 2 years ago. Now he's at Tampa Bay.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. That's a great story, Coach.
Yeah. Sometimes people don't see the vision, I guess. And Scott, he didn't even give Scott a second thought. He would have helped him. But what are you going to do?
He was 6'2", 240 in high school.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, and he could run. I mean,
he could run a 4.5.
He could run.
Probably.
Ran a 4.4.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. I know some coaches, I never could understand that either, Coach. I played a little football in college and the pros, but when I coached high school and I would have somebody come in and recruit me, the head coach would go, the recruiting coach would go right to the head coach. Well, that's not the coach that spends all the time and gets to know the kid and knows his parents and knows him. It's the position coach, you idiots. Why don't recruiters go and talk to the position coaches? I never understood that. I mean, why don't you ask my opinion about Jeremy Reeves? I could have told you, he checks all the boxes, and he all of a sudden he goes South Alabama and becomes, the player, Sun Belt Player of the Year. But nobody I don't understand, Coach. Is it because of ego that they don't ask other questions about recruits?
I don't know. I don't know. Some of them just don't have the vision, I guess. I don't know.
Because
or they have somebody already in their mind that they want, and that's it.
Right. You got to be. Yeah, I think that's it, Coach. You got to be open-minded.
Yeah.
That's how Coach Bryant recruited Rocky Colburn from here in Pensacola. He was going to look at a fullback, and Rocky was knocking everybody's head off all over the place. And Coach Bryant said, "Who's he? I want him."
Yeah.
You got to be open-minded. Billy, go ahead.
Now, Paulie, getting off the subject a little bit, moving on a little bit different.
Right.
Tommy, you coached all over Onondaga County, all over for years, and you've seen a ton of different coaches. I'm going to name guys like Arcaro, Hoke, Pella, the guy from FM,
Vader, Al Vetter.
Who was some of your biggest rivalries with, and what were your relationships with these other coaches, like guys like Arcaro, who was the Baldwinsville Messiah?
John Arcaro was a great man. I was very close with John because I also was involved with the national organization, the Coaches Association, and John's the one who got me involved. So I used to go to, and I was also a sectional rep. So I used to go to the sectional meeting. I was the football sectional rep for Section 3 at the time. And I used to go with John, and he was a great man. I can't say he was an outstanding football coach, but he was a great person. That's the way he was. Al Vetter was another good guy. I mean, he was just a great guy and very knowledgeable. Was great with his kids. Did a great job with his athletes. Bob Adams from Auburn. Bob Adams was another great. He was very influential. Jim Pella was a player for Bob, and that's how we ran a lot of Bob's stuff when I was originally there. So I knew a lot of the offense and defense that they ran because we kind of indoctrinated some of that. He was a good person, but George Van DeCaro was a great player, great coach for me. I mean, I helped him out once I retired at CNS. He offered me a job, and I said, why not? I got nothing else to do. Why not help you? So I ended up coaching with him, and him and I were on the national. And he still is. He stayed on. We were on the national committee for the state National Coaches Association, the Football Coaches Association. And
what about a guy named Pat Testa?
Pat Testa, that great guy. He was a modified coach in the city when I was growing up. When he was at Eastwood High School, and then he ended up coaching for me at CNS when I was at CNS for 2 years. Just a great individual, great knowledgeable man, very willing to learn. Didn't shy away from going to clinics to learn something new. A lot of these guys, they don't want to know nothing.
Right. That's what it is. Yeah, you can't tell them nothing. Oh my gosh.
No, you can't tell them anything. They know it all, so they're not willing to learn. I think that's a big problem today.
Right.
Paulie, I got a quick Coach Marzullo story for you.
Okay.
I'm coaching with him. Back at CNS. Now, I was there with you for how many? I mean, I was probably there right to the end. I think, right? I mean, at least
2001. I left there 2001.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I did too. I mean, I was. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, but anyway, now every year we had a CNS camp. We would do a camp we called it a CNS camp. That way we could raise money for our team, and you had to let all the other kids from all other schools come to your camp. So it wasn't a CNS football camp. It was a CNS camp per se. To get around to get around that legality back then. And now Coach Marzullo is a golfer. And I remember at the end of camp, right? We had a week-long camp. At the end of camp, he'd say, in order to pick up your check, you had to come to the Northern Pines golf course and golf with the coaching staff to pick up your check. Now, Tommy, you remember we had a lot of guys on our staff that weren't golfers. You know?
Oh, a lot of them weren't.
And they'd be bitching about it.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
They'd show up at the golf course to get their check.
Oh, well, we'll have to go golfing, Coach, together.
Now, one more question for Coach. Very serious question. Out of all the assistant coaches you had, who was your number one best golfing assistant coach?
Oh,
you can say it. It's okay.
That's a setup question.
Yeah,
That's a setup question.
It's a setup question.
Oh,
I didn't get to coach with you, Coach. I wish I'd have got to coach with you.
yeah, I think Teddy Correa might be pretty good.
Yeah. That'll give it to him, Coach. Give it to him, baby. He's getting so cocky now. We'll have to get him on the course, man.
We've been on the course together. We were last summer.
I know. All right, feisty and will attack like a pit bull. That's how somebody described your coaching and I love it. Joe Riccardi described you that way. I think you got to have passion when you coach, man. I got on the field every day and said, "Whoa, man, it's a beautiful day for football."
Yeah.
And I would get so pumped up. And if you're not excited about practice, no, but they aren't going to be, man.
No, and that's the problem with today's kids, and that's the problem with today's coaching. They're not. I visually see it. I mean, I go around and I look at these practices and
like they don't want to be there or something.
No.
It's not the game. The game for these kids now is not. It's something that's an honor that you should be able to play. Yeah. Now it's like the
hobby.
Parents.
It's like a hobby. Yeah, it's like a part-time. All right.
Yeah, part-time hobby.
So let's go real quick. We got only a few more minutes. Syracuse great athletes. I'm going to name some here. We talked about a lot of them that you coach, but maybe tell a story about one that strikes a chord. Carmen Basilio, Pete Holohan, Walt Patulski, Dolphin Danny Shays, Marty Domras, Brianna Stewart. Whoa, right? 4 national.
Brianna Stewart I had in school. She was when I was in junior high. She was a student of mine, and you knew right that she's another one on the girls' side.
Yeah.
You knew right away in phys ed class that this girl's going to be outstanding.
Right.
She used to play during lunch. She used to play with the boys, and she would dump the ball all over the boys. She was unbelievable.
Yeah.
She was unbelievable, but very, very quiet and very, very shy. It's remarkable, but she's certainly blossomed since then.
She got an inner drive to her. You don't
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Coach! How many boys do you have? You got 4 or 5 boys?
No, my sons. I have 3 boys.
3 boys.
One runs the IBEW union. He's in charge of the union. The oldest. My middle one is the entrepreneur. He does a little of everything. And my youngest one is a teacher. He also coached a little bit, and then he gave it up.
Oh,
he gave it up. Yeah.
Billy.
Yeah.
You got anything?
One thing I'm very fortunate of. A lot of my ex-players are coaching football now, which is very, very nice thing to see. A lot of them are coaches, and when I see that, I say, well, maybe I did something right, because they certainly got into the profession.
Yeah.
Well said, Coach. Yeah, I feel the exact same way, man. When one of my players gets into coaching, it touches your heart. Billy, you're a coach for 20 years too, like us. Well, I can't count how long Coach has been. 49 years, Coach.
48 years. I could have went the extra. I could have went to 50, but it was time.
It was time.
You know when it's time.
Yeah,
Coach. I got one last question for you. Who would be great to have on the show?
Probably George Mangiaparo. George would be a good one.
Yes.
Yeah, George would be a good one to have on.
Thank you for that. I'll make sure we do that.
Thanks, Tommy. Thanks for your time,
Coach.
Okay, thank you, guys.
I appreciate you, man. It was a great time. Billy, thanks for coming and chiming in. Appreciate you. Coach, we keep in touch. Let's go play
All
ball.
right, thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right, guys.
All right, that was awesome, man. Coach Tommy Marzullo, longtime high school coach in the Syracuse area. We really appreciate him taking the time and telling those stories. Thanks for everybody watching. Stay tuned with these great messages for all our sponsors: Hill Kelly Dodge, Siler Agency, Ronnie's Car Wash, Pensacola Glass, Arbitrium, Sterling. Go see David. State Farm. Hope I didn't miss anybody. Bubba's 33. All my great sponsors. Without them, this just wouldn't be possible. If you like the show, share it. Go to YouTube and subscribe to that channel. It's free. Have a great weekend, everybody. So long.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
Hey, Pensacola, are you ready for the madness? Join us at Bubba's 33, all during the NCAA tournament for some great fun. There will be busted bracket giveaways, basketball bingo, food and drink specials, and a whole lot more. Catch all of the games on one of our 54 TVs or create your own team watch party. Bubba's 33 at the corner of Davis and Creighton, the home of March Madness.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray, and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
75 years of service and high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than the simple painted brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.